Part 3. My Love Simulation with Them. Author, Chiudeo Udaziiwe. Chapter 21. Yamada Ryo, who has always been taciturn, was the first person to take out his phone and actively add his friends online. This made Nang Xiangxi a little surprised. You must know that this time is not in a simulation. This girl with short blue hair and tear marks should not be very interested in him. Why is Ryo Yamada still acting so proactively? Could it be that I am really the opponent's natural nemesis? Nang Xiangxi really couldn't figure it out. He thought about it for a while and reluctantly came to the conclusion that maybe the other party just wanted to ask about his studies, so he took the initiative. After all, at the beginning of the third episode, he and Yamada Ryo had a good relationship, and they only got together because of their studies. This girl, who has great talent in bass playing skills, has always had a dream, to be admitted to the University of Tokyo. Although he also has a good talent in learning, Yamada Ryo has always had a problem. That is, the capacity of this woman's brain seems to be very limited. Learn to learn and forget about bass. Once you learn the bass, you forget to learn. In the simulation, it can be said that Nang Xiang spent countless efforts in order to allow Yamada Ryo to take care of both. And it was during this process that this taciturn man, who occasionally liked to say one or two strange words, began to fall in love with himself over time. From this perspective, it's quite normal. But I am not in a simulation now. Sure enough, there is always no shortage of encounters around excellent people. Nang Xiang sighed with some annoyance when he returned to the rental house. It's not his fault that he's too good. After briefly sorting out his mood, Nang Xiangxi took out the regret in life guitar that was placed under the bed. On the wood-colored paint surface, the strings of the guitar are shining now. Practice guitar. This is the second task that Nang Xiang has set for himself, besides studying. He took a deep breath and began to lower his head and practice various guitar techniques in his mind. The effect of LV2's musical expertise is that his understanding of the guitar is much better than that of LV1. Although I'm still just a newbie. But Nang Xiang didn't care. Everything needs practice before you can master it, and the same goes for the guitar. Nang Xiangxi didn't hate the feeling of gradually mastering a skill. Although the talents given by the system are very good, practicing by yourself is also pretty good. Nang Xiangxi continued to practice, and after almost half an hour of pressing and plucking the strings, he gradually stopped. The fingers lightly press the strings, and the changes in finger shape and hand shape are smoother and more flexible than yesterday. But compared to Kazuri Goto of Guitar Hero, this change in hand shape and finger shape is still a bit unfamiliar. But Nang Xiangxi was already very satisfied. A mere LV2 musical talent is already very good to reach this level, and it would be a bit too much to ask for more. And more importantly, Nang Xiang opened his inventory and looked at the card that popped up in front of him. Do you want to use the love stops here? Go to Kazuri, Queen of Rock, study card. That's right. There was also a Rock Queen study card that I didn't use when I was in Nang Xiang. After using it, can I upgrade my guitar playing skills to LV3? Nan Xiang was very interested and immediately chose yes. But this time, the love simulator did not execute the command immediately, but continued to pop up the pop-up window. Perform a performance, any form of performance, such as stage performance, street performance, etc., and use the Rock Queen learning card to get an additional 150% learning bonus. Confirmed to use now. Well. Nan Xiang stopped his fingers. Is there any extra learning bonus? As a promising young man who has always focused on learning, this line of remarks is something he absolutely cannot ignore. But why is there such a special effect? Nang Xiangxi tugged the hair beside his ear, and after thinking for a moment, he came up with the answer. In the second week, Kazuri Goto, as the national rock queen, has overcome countless setbacks and difficulties on the stage. For her, the experience and pressure given on the stage may be truly worth learning. Therefore, if you want to get more experience and effects from learning cards, you must have real on-site experience. This fits the character of a rock queen. Nang Xiangxi probably figured it out. But to put on a show, Nang Xiangxi took a look at his pitiful LV2 level. At this level, no one would be willing to stop and listen to his playing even if his fingers were broken when he pressed the strings, right? Besides, he didn't have any performance equipment such as pickups. Even for the simplest street performance, he didn't have the basic conditions. But if you just give up and use it directly, Nang Xiang still feels like it's a waste of this hard-earned learning card. After careful and unambiguous thinking back and forth, Nang Xiangxi finally made a decision. As expected, we still have to have a road show. Nang Xiang made up his mind. So what if he is only at LV2 level? Even if no one is willing to stop and listen to his performance, the most he will do is make a fool of himself. In exchange for 150% learning efficiency, the latter is naturally more cost-effective. And it's not necessarily that no one wants to hear him play. You must know that in the third week, he was also a slightly famous roadshow guitarist, much more famous than the band that was just starting out at the time. As for not having the necessary equipment like pickups, after 2 weeks of simulation, Nang Xiangxi already knew that there were several sets of pickups and other sound output devices placed among the stars. Nang Xiangxi has always been a person who immediately implements whatever he thinks of. After having a plan in mind, Nang Xiangxi immediately contacted Ijishi Hengxia online. And just as he observed and predicted, Itaki Hengxia is the type of character who is easy to talk to. Nang Xiangxi's message had just been sent, and the other party sent a message of "Okay, I'll go talk to my sister" along with cute emoticons. It was at this time that Nango felt that the description Goto Kazuri called Angel should not be given to him, but to this yellow-haired girl who was willing to help others at any time. Why? I don't know why in the simulation I only consider Goto Kazuri and even die for her. Now look, it seems that Ichiki Hunka and the others are pretty good too. Never mind. After banishing all distracting thoughts, Nang Xiangxi took a look at the time and made a decision. Let's start the fourth simulation. Chapter 31. It is really illegal for Xiao Ma to drive a big car. The reason for starting the fourth simulation is simple. Because of his unremitting efforts when passing through Nango, the heartbeat value obtained from Goto Ichiri had already exceeded the 300 mark without even realizing it. Should I say it or not, Ichiri Goto is really a good woman, and she is really generous with her actions. Today, when Nang Xiang just came into contact with her, she triggered several 50 heart rate prompts in succession. Although there is an element of misfortune in it, I have to say that Goto Ichiri is really a good woman, but she is too easily deceived by bad men. Nang Xiang was very worried about this. After all, it was a good thing that she met herself. If this woman met a bad man, wouldn't she really be fooled? Let's bring the topic back again. Since Goto's heart rate has exceeded 300, Nang Xiang specially redeemed it for a simulation opportunity. In addition to the remaining one before, there are now 2 more times that he can squander. Humans are really strange creatures. Obviously 2 simulation opportunities are not too many, but I always feel that there are 2 simulation opportunities. Even if the first time is wrong, the second time can guarantee the bottom line. It is detected that there is a new relationship between the host and the simulation object, and it is now automatically loaded. New relationship developments. When Nang Xiang saw this line of explanation, he seemed to think of something and looked at Goto Kazuri's state in the column of simulated objects. Simulated object, Kazuri Goto status, not very familiar friend. It seems that the changes in his relationship with Goto Kazuri will also affect the results in the simulator. But wouldn't the last love simulation process disappear in this way? Nang Xiangxi tried to enter the last love simulation, but found that he couldn't enter. This is of course, Since everything in the simulator may happen in the future, then changes in the initial favorability will naturally greatly affect the simulator's deduction of the future. I didn't feel any regrets when I was in Nangxiang, it was just a matter of starting over. And a higher favorability means a higher starting point. This week is sure to create a perfect ending. Start simulation? Yes. Nangxiang chose yes without any hesitation. A familiar scene flashed before my eyes. After being reborn for a year, you relied on your super learning ability to enter the famous Oka High School in Tokyo from the countryside, and won the top spot in your grade with an absolute advantage. By chance, you learned that a woman named Ichiri Goto secretly admired you with super strong mobility. You quickly took action. You really wanted to see who this woman was who admired you, the most beautiful boy in Tokyo, without knowing what the heavens and the earth were. Goto Kazuri's appearance does not disappoint you, although her eyes are blocked by her bangs that are too long and not taken care of much. If you look closely, you will find that the girl's beauty is like a mine hidden in a vein. A rough diamond can reveal unimaginable brilliance with just a little polishing. You relied on your speaking skills and excellent communication skills that are almost impossible for high school students to coax the female high school students who ended the band into a circle, but in the end you were unable to continue teasing Goto Ichiri. For her, a life of low self-esteem and cowardice is inherently gloomy, and you, who are familiar with all of this, do not want to rely on this despicable way to gain the other person's favor. But this is enough. Goto Kazuri vaguely believes your words subconsciously. She has regarded you as a friend and promised to teach you guitar skills. The new start is indeed completely different. Unlike the previous 3 games where you had to take the initiative to get to know Ichiri Goto, this time you can directly get to know your friend's favorability. Nangxiang, she was thinking as he rode down. You and Ichiri Goto have agreed on the specific details of learning guitar, but since she also needs to guide her band partner Ikuyo Kita, you have agreed to practice guitar every day after school in the practice room of the Stars Exhibition Hall. Okay, this is the beginning. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 22. For this start, Nangxiang Shi can simply be described as perfect. Not only did they integrate into Fangxing so quickly, but they also didn't interact with other girls in the band during the whole process, so their favorability was only at the level of friends. This gives you a lot more places to operate. At least in this 4th episode, Goto Kazuri no longer has to worry about being autistic because he gets too close to his bandmates. Including Ryo Yamada, this woman with short blue hair who has been showing up from the first to the 3rd eye. This week's initial favorability is not high, and the other party has no reason to get close to him. It is unlikely that the other party will die with regrets and be buried together with him, as happened in the 3rd week. Just perfect. Nangxiang breathed a sigh of relief. The simulation continues downward. For you, guitar is no longer just an excuse to get in touch with Ichiri Goto, but more of a hobby. Therefore, you are extremely serious during the guided practice by Goto Ichiri. Your guitar skills have improved by leaps and bounds with the addition of your already LV2 specialties. The speed of your progress not only shocked Goto Kazuri and Kita Ikuyo, but even Yamada Ryo's attention was secretly attracted. You caught Yamada Ryo's attention. Ms. Yamada, she really? Nangxiang Shi didn't know what to say at this moment. He really didn't know what it was about him that deserved the other party's concern. Or is it that Ms. Yamada is just a good-looking person? This is really possible. After all, in the first 3 weeks of simulation, Miss Yamada would go to some famous brand clothing stores whenever she was on vacation. Occasionally she would take him there with her and give him a few sets of clothes. She is so generous that she deserves to be a rich woman. Of course, because of this, she often had no living expenses and would often come to Nangxiang's house to get food. Is it possible that this was all planned by Miss Yamada? No, it shouldn't happen, right? Nangxiang Shi shook his head and stopped thinking about it. There is no problem for the time being. Even if Ryo Yamada is paying attention to both of them again, the situation is still under control and not that bad. Because you were practicing guitar among the stars, you came and went, and you got to know Ichi Hoshige and the sound engineer Miss Pa. Unlike Miss Pa, who is not interested in you, Ichi Hoshige is worried about whether her sister is old enough to fall in love with the first boy that her sister introduces to her. You have attracted Ichi Hoshige's attention. But the way you practiced your guitar diligently quickly dispelled her doubts. You have won the favor of Ichi Hoshige. Nangxiangshi. Let's not talk about things in the simulation for now. In reality, if there is a chance, he must have a good discussion with Ijishi Hongxia about her sister's problem. Because it is really illegal for a pony to drive a big car. And it's illegal for a big car. Chapter 32. This option has far-reaching consequences. Although Ms. Yamada's performance is still stable, and she also killed the 29-year-old single sister Ijishi Hoshika halfway into the show. But from the current point of view, the entire situation of the simulation is still under control by Nangxiangshi. However, what Nangxiangshi was more concerned about was that the main stage of the simulation this time was not at Oka High School, but concentrated in the Stars Exhibition Hall. Taking the second and third episodes as an example, the love simulation stage between Nango Toki and Goto Ichiri is basically concentrated in Oka High School instead of the Stars Exhibition Hall. It seems that this is also a change brought about by the increase in initial favorability. Only when the relationship with Goto Kazuri reaches a certain level can the stars scene be unlocked. He continued to look down. You have made rapid progress, which also aroused the winning spirit of the band members. The musical instrument skills of Itaka Najika, Yamada Ryo, Goto Kazuri, and Kita Ikuyo have been improved also due to excessive focus on the running-in practice between the instruments and the band. Ijishi Nihongatsu, Yamada Ryo, Goto Kazuri, and Kita Ikuyo. The overall academic performance has declined. You practice guitar as always, your understanding of guitar is deeper, and your academic performance has improved because of your fulfilling life. What's going on with these people? Nangxiangshi frowned and practiced musical instruments. Why did the academic performance of these women drop? He couldn't understand. Isn't it easy to combine learning and practicing musical instruments? Didn't his academic performance rise instead of falling? Nangxiangshi continued to look down. As time goes by, the members of the band have become accustomed to seeing your back in the practice room. Your enthusiasm for the guitar has infected them, and they have decided to practice harder. The instrument skills of Hikaru Ijishi, Ikuyo Kita, Ryo Yamada, and Kazuri Goto have improved. The academic performance of Najika Ichi, Ikuyo Kita, Ryo Yamada, and Kazuri Goto has declined. Your understanding of guitar has deepened, your progress on the instrument has stimulated your mental state, and your academic performance has improved. Isn't this right? Nangxiangshi looked at the people whose academic performance dropped again and again in the simulation, and then looked at his attribute panel that had improved in all aspects. Improving the level of an instrument is naturally a good thing, but it must be balanced with learning to make it more perfect. Not to mention that girls' academic performance has been declining. If they continue practicing like this like crazy, the four of them might not even be able to get into ordinary universities, let alone Dongda University. Nangxiangshi continued to look down. Your communication and learning skills are as outstanding as ever during your guitar practice in Stars. You solved many business problems similarly. During daily practice, you, who are good at observing people's words and emotions, also help solve many problems of ending the band. Grinding the puzzle, ending the band members' relationship with you becomes better. Hikaru Ijishi, Ikuyo Kita, Ryo Yamada, and Ichiri Goto's favorability towards you has increased, and they rely on you even more. One day, Ijishi Hongxia came to you, and she wanted to invite you to join the band and 1. Politely refuse her request and end the band. Even if you don't join it, the elements are complete. 2. Refuse, and said that it seems more promising to follow the older sister next door who likes to drink and play bass like crazy. 3. Agree to join with your joining, maybe the band will become better after it ends. 4. Simulate in person. The sudden selection pop-up window did not make Nan Xiangxi surprised or confused about what to do. After all, this incident had already happened in the third week. This week, his main activity venue is concentrated in the stars. As the leader of the closing band, it is normal for Ijishi Hungzia Club to send an invitation. Although I'm a little concerned about who the big sister next door likes to drink and play bass like crazy in the second option is. But the choice Nang Xiang had to make did not change. This week he still chose to refuse to join the ending band. The reason is still the same: a small traditional band doesn't need 3 guitarists at all. The configuration of 3 guitarists is just a drag on ending the band. Moreover, Nang Xiangxi still hasn't forgotten the ending called Eyes Full of Regret that he played in the third game. It was precisely because of his excessive interference that the band eventually disbanded. The simulation continues. You politely declined Ijishi Hunka's invitation, and told her that the 2 guitarists in the current ending band are enough. The 3 guitarists are just redundant to the structure of the entire band. Compared with joining the band, they become it makes you want to stand far away and watch them silently. Ichi Hungzia is very sorry that you can't join, but she also thinks what you said makes sense. She promises you that she will not let you down. Who is watching silently. The members of the band ended training more seriously. In the end, the musical instrument level of the band members has generally improved. The band members' academic performance generally declined. You really don't read any books. Nang Xiangxi's mouth twitched. Have some snacks and learn more. But forget it? Nang Xiangxi shook his head. It seems that this week there will be 2 more candidates for tutoring in my Nang Xiang dad's small classroom. Besides, with such intense practice, ending the band's first performance on stage shouldn't be a big problem. It seems that this is exactly what he had in mind when responding to Nan Xiang. The simulation process emerges downward. After constant practice and rehearsal, the day finally arrived for the band to perform on stage for the first time. As you might expect, due to the extraordinary practice, the bad weather and depressing atmosphere did not have the slightest impact on the members of the closing band. It was only their first performance and they were a great success. The audience present was also attracted by this unknown rookie band for the first time. At the celebration party, you met Hiroi Kairi, a friend Ichiri Goto made, a narrow-eyed woman who loves drinking and playing bass. Everyone was excitedly discussing the details of today's performance, but Goto Ichiri looked uneasy. With keen observation, you quickly noticed this detail, and you asked the other party why. Under your clever words, Goto Ichiri hesitated for a while, and finally told the whole story. It turns out that her recent excessive devotion to guitar practice has caused her already poor academic performance to slip again and again. If this continues, she may face the risk of repeating a grade. And her words also made the other members of the band, who were still excited at the end, look stiff, because they were the same as Goto Kazuri. The aftereffects of over-practicing are beginning to show. The next option has far-reaching implications. Chapter 33. You become an irreplaceable member of their hearts. A far-reaching option? When I was in Nangxiang, I cheered up a little. It is after this line of remarks appears in the third episode that Nang Xiangxi makes a choice, which will lead to the subsequent series of endings. In other words, this option will have a great impact on the entire simulation and even the follow-up. Nang Xiangxi looked carefully. And the members of the band have always been very friendly to you. You have already regarded them as friends. Faced with this situation, you decided to do what you can for them. 1. Considering the issue of efficiency, I offered to tutor Kazuri Goto and Ryo Yamada, who had the worst grades. 2. With your ability, as long as you work hard, you should be able to take care of everyone and provide tutoring to complete the schoolwork of all band members. 3. Taking care of yourself is the most important thing. I believe that the members of the band who have ended the band will be able to overcome the difficulties. 4. Simulate in person. The 4 options were arranged, making Nang Xiangxi unable to help but fall into thinking. If he followed his usual style, he would naturally have to take care of Kazuri Goto and Ryo Yamada, who had the worst grades. After all, judging from the 2 weekly simulations, the academic abilities of Ikuyo Kida and Hikaru Itaki are obviously higher than these two. But if such a choice is made, there is a high probability that Miss Yamada will hang on his tree again this week. This feels a little unsafe. The first option was put aside for the time being, and Nan Xiangxi's eyes jumped to the third option. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udaziiwe. Chapter 23. I believe that the members of the band that ended will have a way to get through it. This is outrageous to say. Nang Xiangxi couldn't help but shake his head. There is a saying that goes well, when people are forced to be anxious, they can do anything except math problems. Rely on them to solve it independently. Just based on Goto Ichiri's academic ability, even if he works hard, he can only get into an ordinary university. Just rely on Yamada Ryo's single-core brain processor? It was indeed not that Nang Xiangxi didn't want to believe them, but that the academic abilities between the two of them really didn't give Nang Xiangxi the confidence to believe them. Thinking of this, Nang Xiangxi almost had the answer. He chose the second option. Although it is a bit reluctant, it is safer to take care of everyone here. At least they have to avoid the risk of repeating a grade. You considered the balance of the overall academic ability of the band and decided to tutor the 4 of them with one person, and you also felt very confident that relying on your own level of being the first in the country in deviation value, it would be no problem to tutor the 4 of them. In the stars, the daily musical instrument practice activities are still continuing, but after the musical instrument practice, there is an additional tutoring activity. In academic guidance, you are not strict, but carefully and meticulously guide the members of the band. Ijishi Hunka and Kida Ikuyo asked for advice many times. You patiently explained their questions and waited until they fully understood before answering the next difficult point. During this process, Hikaru Itaki and Ikuyo Kida were amazed at your rich knowledge reserve. Similarly, they were also concerned that tutoring would affect your academic performance. Their worries are not groundless. You must know that in order to help the band members finish tutoring, you deliberately freed up your own study time. Although you are still ranked first in the grade, your academic performance has indeed declined, but you didn't care at all. For you, helping the ending band get through the difficulties as soon as possible is the most important thing. You forced yourself to be exhausted and told Ijishi Hungzia and Kida Ikuyo so that they don't have to worry. At night, the stars display in the performance hall and practice room. Nangxiang-san, is it really okay? Ichiki Hungzia looked up at the young man in front of her uneasily. In order to help us with tutoring, your own grades are already declining, right? It's obviously such a critical period for you. I also feel that it is too reluctant to help the 4 of us. Kida Ikuyo's voice was filled with guilt, and even his usually energetic red hair dimmed. I heard that Nango-senpai's score in this exam has dropped. Is it really because of us? As we all know, although Japan has always promoted happy education, in fact, if you want to get into the university of your choice, there is no such thing as happy education. Most Japanese high school students who want to go on to college will start signing up for various cram schools in their sophomore year of high school and start preparing. In other words, Nang Xiangxi was actually in the same stressful period as them, facing college preparations. He spared no effort to help them, and while they were grateful, they also felt a sense of guilt that was dragging him down. Nang Xiangxi put down his textbook and rubbed his brows tiredly. He could see the concern between the 2 of them, but he just forced himself to speak tiredly. Don't worry, it's all something I am willing to do. I have never felt that you owe me anything. But it's okay, don't worry. Nang Xiang yawned constantly, doing intensive tutoring, daily guitar practice and taking care of his own academic performance. This kept his spirit in a state of tension, but he still comforted Kita Ikuyo and Ichiki Hunka. Instead of caring about my academic performance, Hungzia and Ikuyo should think about how to do better next time. He smiled heartily. Come on. These are undoubtedly the most difficult times. But for some reason, with Nangoshi's encouragement, Ichichi Honka and Kita Ikuyo, who were a little uneasy at first, regained their confidence. But looking at his tired mental state, the two of them could not suppress their inner concern. Nangxiang paused the simulation and rubbed his temples, clearly sensing something was wrong. Wait a moment, wait a moment. What's the situation? Where are Kazuri Goto and Ryo Yamada? Nango clearly remembers that in past simulations, Hikaru Itaka and Ikuyo Kita basically played the roles of the yellow-haired female passerby and the red-haired female passerby. He is one of those people who, despite having a very good relationship with him, rarely appears in the simulation. But this week seems different. Although Goto Kazuri and Yamada Ryo still have roles, this week's episode is an addition, and the frequency of their appearances has also increased. Will using stars as the home court cause such a change? So, what kind of ending will this route lead to in the end? The simulation will be restarted in Nangxiang time. The tutoring time continues since tutoring will be late every day. You are not worried about the other band members going home after the end, so you will send them home one by one. You will say some comforting words to Goto Ichiri when she is nervous. She likes to follow you and listen carefully without saying a word. When Yamada Ryo feels bored, you will also use your two life experiences before and after rebirth to cheer her up by telling anecdotes that only you know. She, who has always been cold and narcissistic, thinks you are a very interesting person. Kita Ikuyo cares about you very much, and he and Ichiki Hikaru often bring you snacks to express their condolences. You gradually become an irreplaceable member of their hearts. Chapter 34. Your relationship with them takes a further step. You gradually become an irreplaceable member of their hearts. Although you are not a member of the ending band, all the members of the ending band have already regarded you as an equally important person as the band members. Eating cheap lunch boxes for a long time, while also taking care of studies, guitar practice, and tutoring for 4 people, your body accumulates fatigue in the process, and you often feel a tingling sensation coming from the depths of your brain. The end of the band comes at a critical period. If Hungzia Itaki and Ryo Yamada repeat the grade this time, they will have to take the college exam the year after next. You don't want to delay them because of this trivial matter. The band members noticed that something was wrong with you. They were very worried about your situation. They wanted to ask several times, but you always smiled and used your words to induce them to go back for you. Coaxing and fooling these high school girls was simply a matter of course, easier than drinking water. You hid the fact that you were not feeling well and continued to tutor the members of the band that ended. Hiding something about not feeling well? In reality, when Nangxiang looked at this line of words, he noticed something was wrong. Is it really too much for 4 people to be together? Nangxiang sighed. Although I was still as good as ever, I still couldn't withstand the needs of 4 adolescent girls who had a strong desire to learn. In the Stars exhibition hall, you guided them to study according to their different personalities. Although this was much harder than unified teaching, you didn't care. Your attitude of not slacking off and not giving up on any of them moved them, and their relationship with you became better. Ichiri Goto, who dares not look directly at others and communicates naturally with others, will look at you secretly when no one notices her. Yamada Ryo, who has always been taciturn and occasionally speaks a few words, will take the initiative to find some interesting topics to talk to you. For her, chatting with you, who speaks humorously, is the only relief from the boring study life. Ijishi Hungzia, who is always paying attention to the feelings of others, has been silently caring about your physical health after tutoring. She will always bring you a cup of hot coffee, stay with you in a low voice, and tell you some things that you can read online how to take care of your body. Kita Ikuyo seems to have already regarded you as a close friend, and she often talks to you for heart-to-heart chats. She seems to be a little concerned about whether you are single. The band members are relying on you more. As time goes on, you will often feel physically uncomfortable, but you are still giving them targeted tutoring. The band members trust you very much and they will always complete the study plan you arranged seriously. During such an intensive tutoring process, the academic abilities of the band members improved rapidly. In the latest final exam, Ijichi Honka, Yamada Ryo, Kita Ikuyo, and Goto Kazuri all achieved ideal results. They are very happy about this, not only because they have achieved excellent academic results, but more importantly, they have not let your efforts go to waste. On this day, they who got good grades couldn't wait to come to STARS and wanted to tell you, who had been working hard for them, about their achievements. Even Yamada Ryo, who has always been aloof, took the initiative to buy a cake and prepared to celebrate today. They waited for a long time that day, but they didn't wait for you who came to STARS on time every day. Cheap daily lunch boxes, too bad daily accommodation, long and heavy guidance and study tasks will make you physically and mentally exhausted. You are sick. You have today too. Outside the simulation, Nan Xiang was gloating over his misfortune. As someone who can feel simulated memories, he naturally knows how popular he is in the simulation. Goto Ichiri, who dared not look at others, could only have the courage to speak when facing him. Yamada Ryo, who was taciturn, would find some topics from time to time and take the initiative to talk to him. Itaka would often come over to care about his health, while Kita Ikuyo would talk to him from time to time. The days spent with the girls were so enjoyable and fulfilling that during the simulation, he completely forgot about fatigue and took care of his body. As for the too bad living environment, Nang Xiang glanced at the rental house where he lived. The systematic evaluation is undoubtedly correct. In a one-bedroom apartment, the living room is the bedroom. There are always mold spots on the ceiling of the bathroom, and a strange smell comes out when the weather gets a little hotter. The original conditions for eating and drinking were average, and the living environment was also the same, so it was reasonable for him to fall ill in the simulation. Nang Xiang was thinking about whether he should really think of some way to make some money to improve his living environment and dietary conditions. As he thought this, his men were not idle and continued the simulation. Itakazinga brought the news of your illness to the band members. The members of the band are all a little surprised by your sudden illness and the end of the band. They never thought that you, who always looked healthy, would fall ill. Under their concerned inquiries, Yijizinga then told your story. Until then, Yujizi Hongxia and the others realized that you, who had never shown any negative emotions in front of them, had actually been living alone in a cold, low-cost rental house with some drafts at home. You only ate. Look at the cheap lunch boxes from convenience stores that are not nutritious. Similarly, at this time, they also realized how labor-intensive it is for one person to take care of the academic guidance of 4 people and teach students according to their aptitude. Take care of your own studies, ensure the progress of guitar practice, and have one person to guide 4 people. You are also made of flesh and blood, so of course you will feel tired. On the hospital bed, you were as talkative as ever, facing the guilty and remorseful looks in Yuji's Hongxia's and others' eyes. You didn't complain at all, you just smiled to express your comfort and told them not to take it to heart. But you forgot one thing. You cherish and love them, and they do the same to you. After discussion, Ijishi Hongxia decided that they will take care of your daily life. This time, even Goto Kazuri, who has never been good at contacting others, and Yamada Ryo, who found it troublesome to take care of others, agreed to this proposal. The relationship between you and them has taken a further step. His. Nang Xiang was stunned when he saw this line of characters popping up and was waiting to see the subsequent results. At the end of this route, what exactly does it lead to? At present, everyone seems to have a high opinion of him. Chapter 35. You stood up. In order for your body to recover as soon as possible, Ichiki Hikaru, Yamada Ryo, Goto Kazuri, and Kita Ikuyo decided to take turns taking care of you. You will undoubtedly reject this. Because whether it's Hikaru Itaka, Ryo Yamada, Kazuri Goto, or Ikuyo Kita, they have achieved their current results with great difficulty. You tell them that whether it is a band that has just started to improve or a performance that has been improved, it will take a lot of time to stabilize. Your body is just weak and does not require them to spare the already urgent time to take care of it. But this time, your excellent words did not fool them as usual. The band that keeps moving forward and the performance that improves are of course very important to them, but your weight in their hearts has never diminished. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 24. You who have always insisted on your own opinions have compromised. You feel that maybe you should really trust them. You decide to accept their care. In the simulation, memories tumble. I was immersed in it when I was in Nangxiang. During the day, it was raining outside the hospital window. A black curtain of rain enveloped the entire Tokyo. While Nangxiang was flipping through the novel page by page, he suddenly felt a little tired. He put the book down and looked at both sides of the bed. The girl with light pink hair and the girl with short blue hair covering her eyes were lying on both sides of the hospital bed. On the other side were Ichiki Hikaru and Kita Ikuyo, who looked helpless. They were obviously here to take care of Nangxiang, but due to heavy rain, they were temporarily trapped in the hospital. Yamada Ryo was still as free as ever, and simply fell asleep leaning against Nangxiang. Goto Kazuri may have been practicing guitar very late yesterday, and he couldn't suppress his tiredness, so he slept on the other side of Nango Toki. Itaka Nihonka and Kita Ikuyo sat down and shared interesting bits and pieces about the school with Nangoshi with great interest. Sitting on the hospital bed, Nangxiang listened carefully to their words, and from time to time he mentioned two more interesting topics, making them both laugh. Time goes very slowly. It was raining outside the window, and the glass of the window was filled with cold mist. The cold wind raged outside the window. Nanxiangshi turned his head to look at the scenery outside the window, exhaled a white breath, and recalled the time of this year. Everyone who had been dragged down due to their own health could not help but sigh lightly. Winter is coming soon, and this year is almost over. No, Nangxiang-san. Ujizi Hongxia also saw the scenery outside the window. She held Nangxiangshi's hand, showed a smile as bright as the sun, and corrected Nangxiangshi in a soft voice. The new year is about to begin. Yes. Kita Ikuyo held Nangxiangshi's other hand. She looked at the scenery outside the window with some longing in her tone. I'm really looking forward to next year, Nangxiang-senpai. Yes. Nangxiangshi smiled and tilted his head. I'm really looking forward to next year. He suddenly felt. The cold wind outside the window seemed to be less harsh than before. They have never complained about you, just as you have never blamed them. After 1 week of care, they seem to understand you better, and you understand them better. In the first month of the new year, in order to make up for the lost study progress, you did not rush back to your hometown in Akita Prefecture and decided to stay in Tokyo. But you will not be lonely this new year. Members of the band will often invite you to go out to play. I don't know if it's your misunderstanding, but you always feel that they rarely ask you out alone. Once they ask you out, it must be with everyone, including Christmas, you spend it with them. It seems like they have reached some kind of consensus secretly without you knowing. On Valentine's Day in January, in addition to a lot of chocolates from school, you also received 4 chocolates from the members of the band that ended. What makes you regretful is that all the 4 chocolates made by them are favor chocolates rather than natal chocolates. You thought that with your current good relationship with them, you would receive at least 1 or 2 natal chocolates. It took you a month to finish the huge amount of Valentine's Day chocolates you got, and you gained weight. After Valentine's Day, it's White Day. Due to the tight funds on hand, you thought about it, although it was a little perfunctory, but decided to focus on making cookies for them. The tutorials you looked up on the internet are not complicated, just try it a little bit, and you made good quality cookies. Not only did you send cookies to a few people who ended the band, you also didn't forget to take good care of yourself when you were in the hospital. Attack Azinga and Miss PA. Your biscuits have won unanimous praise from the girls. They obviously did not expect that you, who have always focused on learning, actually have such skills. Yamada Ryo would secretly buy materials and secretly ask you to help make desserts. Although Ryo Yamada comes to you secretly every time, for some reason, every time you inform her to come over for a taste test, the 4 people who finished the band always gather at the scene. You ignored these details for the time being. As a senior in high school, you began to focus on preparing for the exam. As everyone expected, facing you who are fully prepared and preparing for the exam seriously, no problem will be a problem after the exam. You got a high score that allowed you to freely choose any university in Japan. In everyone's attention, you did not choose Tokyo University's School of Medicine as they imagined, but instead chose the University of Tokyo's journalism and media major, which is not too popular. The activities of the band will continue after you enter college, but you are usually busy with your studies and rarely go to the stars as frequently as before. They who have finished the band also know that you have a heavy academic workload. Every time you come to Fangzing, they will put aside their heavy practice and spend their time chatting with you and going out to relax. You didn't say much, you just saw everything in your eyes. Time continues to move forward, and with the continuous activities, the band's reputation in Shimokitazawa, which has been continuously improving in skills, gradually grows. But in this process of gradually becoming famous, all kinds of troubles are also emerging unknowingly. The ending band, which is gradually gaining recognition from others, lacks a candidate who can represent their band in negotiating cooperation with others, and they are a little lost. You must know that the development of a band is diverse, whether it is to be bought by a record dealer, debut as a signed band, or continue like this and insist on the path of an independent band. These are all factors that make the band in the rising period end feeling confused. They don't know how to decide the future path. Even Ichi Hoshige has no experience in this matter. This is undoubtedly the period when they are most helpless and confused. You know it's time for you to stand up. Chapter 36. Toward the Dream. If a band wants to go further, it will undoubtedly need commercial packaging. You are familiar with this, so you chose the journalism and media major of Dongda University. Majoring in media and other work, he is involved in band production and idol production. This is exactly why you did not choose the University of Tokyo School of Medicine. During the long time together, you can see their practice day and night in your eyes. Unconsciously, their dreams have already taken root in your heart. Their dream of being on stage has also become your dream. You are willing to work hard with them for this goal. To this end, you worked hard to learn the media knowledge related to band production in Dongda. At the same time, with your intentional friendship, your talent also attracted the attention of some people within Dongda, and you obtained a pretty good job in the school. Personal connections. You don't want to end the band's freedom. Being signed by a record company will indeed make them famous faster, but it will also cause them to lose their right to create and sing freely. Through your superb social skills and connections at Tokyo University, you have entered major record companies in Japan and accumulated experience through continuous internships, thereby understanding the basic situation of major independent bands in the industry. Tell them not to worry, you are here. Like a dam that blocks the surging flood, they who were originally confused and at a loss gradually feel relieved with your comfort. The fog on the sea surface is still very thick, but they can see the lighthouse. Ijishi Hongzia is very relieved to leave everything to you to run and manage the band. No one objected to this decision at the small meeting to end the band, which is enough to show your status in their minds. You put their trust in your arms and cherished it carefully. After completing the preparatory courses in the senior class, you began to seriously run and finish the band. Has it been saved? Looking at these words on the simulator, Nang Xiangshi's originally nervous mood relaxed a little. He didn't know why he was nervous. It's just the memories in the simulator that come back. When he saw Ichiki Hunka, the leader of the band, feeling troubled and depressed because he was signed to an independent band. When he saw Yamada Ryo, who seemed indifferent on the surface, but secretly consulted many seniors from other bands, running back and forth for this purpose. When he saw that even someone with social phobia like Goto Kazuri followed Ikuyo Kida to search a lot of information about this on the internet, and was suffering from insomnia because of it. Even Nang Xiangxi, who was always used to having fun, became nervous unconsciously at this moment. Although the simulation of this week's project has much less love elements than the previous week's projects. But the spirit of hard work and dedication for their dreams that ended the band was something he couldn't ignore. Have you ever heard the drumming in the starry practice room that's still lit at 11 o'clock at night? Have you ever seen Yamada Ryo who almost stepped into a smelly ditch even when he was thinking about his new song while walking? Have you ever seen Goto Kazuri, who has a very weak character, but because of equipment failure, he worked hard to smooth things over and save the situation? Have you ever seen Ikuyo Kida pressing her slender fingers against the strings with bleeding marks but not stopping practicing? The reality is very close, very cold, very cruel. The dream is far, far, far away. But they have been standing in the cold reality, trying hard to reach out to bring their distant dreams closer. You want to be the thread that brings their dreams closer. Then, the first step to realizing your dream is to gain financial freedom. Under your operation, the band ended up participating in the Tokyo Youth Music Festival. The band's performance skills at the end are indeed excellent. Even if it is placed at a music festival, many audiences will look at it with suspicion. You strike while the iron is hot and take advantage of the exposure of these music festivals to create a team account on the internet for the end of the band, and post a video of the end of the band's performance. With the blessing of the Tokyo Youth Music Festival, the video you posted about ending the band was quickly recognized and spread by others, and the views of all the videos you uploaded increased steadily. You have gained a lot of video income from it. Your thinking is very clear. After receiving the video profits, you immediately invested the hard-earned money into the production of a small record that ended the band. These small CDs contain 3 of their songs, which will be sold to fans at the next performance as live peripherals for 2,500 yen each. At the end of this time, the band is already well known in Shimokitazawa under your management. Their reputation has increased slightly on the day of the performance. The atmosphere was heated, and 100 small records and CDs were sold as you expected. That way, they all sold out. According to Hoshiji Taka, a friendly older sister who likes drinking and playing bass went to the stars and bought 10 small records and CDs. After the band performance ends for the second time, this time you give part of the money you earned last time to Yuji Zinga and temporarily rent the Stars exhibition hall without charging ticket fees, using free live as a selling point, attracting a large number of new listeners. In order to respond to the expectations of you and the fans, their performance at the end of the band was very impressive, and the lively atmosphere at the scene once surpassed that of some veteran rock bands. You take the opportunity to launch a sales strategy of bundling tickets for your next performance with records. The result is just as you expected. The money invested is recovered in proportion to several times. With your management, the band's popularity has once again significantly increased, with the number of online followers exceeding 20,000 in just 2 weeks. There was also a lot of discussion on Twitter about ending the band's promotion. In this way, with your operation in various ways, the thin money that was originally only the income from the band's online video gradually grew bigger and bigger in your hands. In the end, you got a number that shocked Ichiki Hikaru, Yamada Ryo, Goto Kazuri, and Kida Ikuyo in their dreams. If this money is spent sparingly, the band will no longer be short of funds for at least the next 1 or 2 years of activities. Your business acumen once made Yuji Zinga want to open up the structure of your head. But you don't care, because in your opinion, this is just the first step to financial freedom. Their popularity is on the rise since they no longer have to worry about finances. They must seize this period firmly. You set out to make the end a truly famous rock band. During this process, Najika Ichi, Ryo Yamada, Kazuri Goto, and Ikuyo Kita have always trusted you unconditionally. They are willing to follow you, and you are willing to guide them in the gloomy night. You have a closer relationship with them. Chapter 37. Yidizi Hongzia confessed to you. Under your operation, the band has gradually become a famous independent rock band in Tokyo. But in the process of continuous expansion, you also discovered various hidden problems in the band. You found Goto Kazuri. Ending in the band, Ijichi Hunka is lively and cheerful, always caring about others. Kita Ikuyo is warm and generous, gentle to others, and Yamada Ryo is independent and independent. You don't need to worry about the three of them. Only Goto Ichiri has always been timid and shy, not daring to look at others, and even stuttering when talking to others. Therefore, among the four-member band, you have given most of your care to this one, whether overtly or secretly, a girl who always makes people worry and is easily frightened. You took the initiative to find her and told her about the recent ending and the increasing popularity of the band. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi Iway. Chapter 25. Although this is a good thing, you don't want to end the band's increasing popularity and bring psychological pressure to her already delicate personality. She stood next to you, listening quietly to you whispering about the recent ending of the band. When you mentioned that you were worried that she would be under psychological pressure, she, who was always timid, took the initiative to hold your hand. The street lights in the park are scattered, leaving light and shadow on the ground. There is a rustling sound when stepping on the road. Goto Ichiri turned his head and looked at the young man walking beside him. After entering college, the other party's height is a bit taller than in high school, and he looks much more mature. How nice, she thought to herself. Goto Ichiri, who didn't dare to look up at him, lowered his head again and secretly looked at his shadow on the ground. Her social phobia had long since improved and eased after many performances with the closing band, but for some reason, she was always unable to hold her head up when facing him. But being by his side is enough. Goto Ichiri followed Nango Toki obediently, listening to him talk about the recent situation of the band. Hongzia's performance has improved again. Ryo has nothing to do and asks him for funds for musical instruments, and Akude occasionally brings her friends into the backstage of the practice room. The steps stopped. The band's popularity has increased rapidly recently, so Ili, I have been worried that you may feel that the pressure is too much. Nangxiang, she spoke thoughtfully. Yes. Nangxiang has been worried. Because Goto Ichiri has always been a girl with a very delicate personality and emotions, and is prone to random thoughts. Is it too much pressure for her to feel that her bandmates are moving forward around her? She didn't speak next to her. Nangxiang Shigong, who had been staring at the neon scenery of the park, was about to continue speaking. But the next moment, his palm was held. Nangxiang turned his head subconsciously. Goto Kazuri was looking up at him. There were other inexplicable colors flashing in her eyes, which made Nangxiang feel a little panicked. I saw Nangxiang's embarrassment. She had always lowered her head and looked timid, but she secretly smiled under the cover of her two long bangs. It's not just Hongzia-chan and the others, I must have made progress too, Toki. When she asked Nangxiang in a low voice, her fair and pink palms did not let go. Nangxiang turned his head, responded, and held her hand tightly. She in autumn, in the park, under the neon lights. Incomparably beautiful. After this day passed, Goto Ichiri spent significantly more time with you. The other members of the closing band obviously noticed this as well. They have applied for a short vacation from you. That day, Yamada Ryo, who usually didn't drink much, drank a lot with Hiroikiri in the izakaya. That day, Yuji Zinga complained to you that my sister had recently watched a tear-jerking movie and she threw herself into her arms and sobbed every day. That day, Kita Ikuyo updated his SNS information more frequently. They were all photos of him going to a couple's date place alone. When the vacation was over, they returned to the band and picked up the instruments again. For some reason, they practiced even more seriously than before. I don't know if it's your imagination, but you always feel that sometimes they stay with you intentionally and only leave after a long time. The days will continue to go on under your day-to-day operations. The influence of independent bands and bands is becoming more and more important day by day. Under such circumstances, several famous Japanese record companies finally couldn't hold back. They offer you favorable conditions such as signing a contract to join and ensuring that resources will be poured into you. Among the many contracts with favorable terms, you first ensured the end of the band's independent band component, reaching an agreement with one of the reliable record companies. Half a year later, the band's album Ending was officially released under the promotional offensive of the record company, and for the past 6 months, the first version of the record was released with lightning speed. At the end, the band really broke out of Shimokitazawa and became famous all over Japan. They have gained a large number of loyal fans. But they only remember the members of the band that ended. No one knows you compared with their popularity occupying the mastheads of fashionable music magazines. They only give you a meager one-line comment. You have never thought about being remembered by others, just standing behind the stage curtain and watching them enjoy the applause of fans in front of the stage. You are satisfied. But unlike you, who doesn't care, Ichiki Hunka, who has always been kind to others, vented her dissatisfaction to the editor-in-chief of a music magazine in public for the first time. Yamada Ryo, Goto Kazuri, and Kita Ikuyo also publicly stated that they would never will accept any kind of interview with this music magazine. The straightforward declaration and straightforward attitude expression have not reduced the number of fans of the band. On the contrary, more people feel that the band that dares to speak their hearts to the media is very charming. At the end of the season, the band's record sales hit a new high. The Ending band may have the tendency to become a new national band. After discovering this, major music media began to scramble to dig up the story behind the Ending band. The Stars Performance Hall has gained enough attention because it is the place where the band ended its career, attracting many well-known rock bands to perform there. Producers from many record companies also occasionally go to the Stars Performance Hall to discover band seeds. Similarly, your deeds have gradually been exposed by the media, and the story that you once ranked first in the country's deviation value began to spread. Everything is developing in a good direction. It was also at this time that something happened in the band that could not be ignored. Ichi Hungzia has confessed to you. Chapter 38. Regret. Ichi Hungzia has confessed to you. Nangxiangshi? Look at this line of words. Look at the name Goto Kazuri in the Love Sim Partner column. Nan Xiang fell into silence. Miss Ichiki, what are you doing? I shouldn't have simulated it wrong, right? The target of the love simulation is definitely Goto Kazuri, right? But to be honest, this week he shielded the girls' dreams from the wind and rain, which can be said to have earned their favor. It was actually not unexpected at all to be confessed by Ichi Hungzia. On the contrary, if he has done so many things for the girls, but they are still unmoved, then that is truly unscientific. Ichi Hungzia has confessed to you. This line of words seems to cover the entire process in one stroke. But Nangxiangshi had to sink directly into the depths of the simulated memory. I think I probably like Ashi, no. Maybe I particularly like him. Standing in front of Nangxiangshi, Ichiki Hungzia, who put down the drumstick, wiped the sweat from his forehead with concern and spoke softly. Nothing out of the ordinary. It's not unnatural at all. Ichi Hungzia's confession was as natural as a considerate wife taking care of her husband who had just come in from the door to finish work, and the two of them spoke love words to each other. But the words she spoke caused Yamada Ryo on the side to subconsciously move his fingers away from the strings of the bass, and Kita Ikuyo's fingers on the side stopped, and Goto Kazuri also secretly looked at him behind his bangs. Put it over. The sudden confession did not panic Nangxiangshi. He just thought for a moment and couldn't help but ask the question, why? Ichi Hungzia's confession didn't look like a joke, and his response naturally couldn't be as casual as a joke. Naturally, he had to ask the reason. But this reason may not be difficult to find for Yuji's Hongzia. She thought of you constantly helping them along the way. This process has happened too many times for her. When the band was in confusion, when the band was on the rise, you were there to help silently from behind without asking for anything in return. Even if you have never mentioned these things to her, she will still remember them. I don't know when, I couldn't take my eyes away from your figure. She looked at you and said so softly. Yes. Not just in band life now. Even in her daily life, she wanted to see the shadow of Nang Xiangxi. She wants to see him when she is happy, wants to see him when she is sad, and wants to tell him as soon as possible when she encounters something she wants to share. Ijishi Hongzia knows this feeling. Just like when she was a child, she felt exclusive about her sister. However, there is absolutely nothing wrong with liking someone so much that you want to keep them all to yourself. Yujizi Hongzia's voice was as gentle and generous as usual, and she didn't seem to be embarrassed at all. But if you look at it from the perspective of Nang Xiangxi, the girl's body was obviously shaking slightly. The tone of his enunciation and speech is also much more deliberate and heavier than usual. He knew them so well, just as they knew him so well. Nang Xiang didn't want to hurt Yiji Hongzia. But in the end, Nan Xiangxi rejected her. Perhaps he had given his sincerity little by little to the timid, introverted, and socially fearful girl who needed his care and love through caring again and again. She didn't let you see her cry. So you only saw her shoulders shrugging when she turned around, wiping her face haphazardly with the back of her hand. She ran out the door alone, worried about her condition. Goto Kazuri and Kita Ikuyo followed. She and you both regard each other as a treasure, but how can you, who has been paying attention to her, bear to let her have a love affair with you that will end in vain sooner or later? You rejected Ichi Hongzia. Perhaps seeing that you were feeling a little depressed, Yamada Ryo, who had been silent all this time, proposed to go to the rooftop with you to get some fresh air. Tokyo is very cold in winter. Yamada Ryo rubbed his white palms next to you, breathing heavily. You hesitated for a while, then took off the scarf around your neck and tied it carefully around Yamada Ryo's smooth neck. Then you tucked the excess part of the scarf into her clothes. The thick scarf protected her from the cold. She didn't say a word, but stretched out her cold red palm to you. You thought for a while, but looking at her elegant and cold eyes, you still held her hand and shared the warmth with her. She is satisfied with this. The two of you are standing on the rooftop, looking down at the busy scene with busy traffic. In this scene, Ryo Yamada asks if the person you like is Kazuri Goto. You confirm Yamada Ryo's question. You don't have to hide anything from her, who calls herself a weirdo in the band. What do you like about loneliness? Yamada Ryo, whose upper body was lying lazily on the rooftop railing, shook the half cup of hot drink in his hand and asked briefly. There is nothing to hide from Ryo Yamada. Although she doesn't speak, she sees things very clearly. Nang Xiangxi looked far away and admitted. Yeah. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udaziiwei. Chapter 26. It was still a response without any emotion. Then there was the sound of a drink being downed. Hongzia will be able to adjust her emotions quickly. This sentence seemed to be comforting to her, who had always been taciturn. I know. Nan Xiangxi nodded. The two fell into silence again. After a while, the voice came out. I'll go down first. It's cool and breathable enough. Thank you. She didn't answer, she just leaned on the railing and waved her hand without looking back. After a while, I listened to the disappearing footsteps in my ears. Have you lost to loneliness? There was no trace of regret in it, she was more like mumbling to herself. Not sorry. In a daze, Yamada Ryo seemed to hear such a voice in his ears. How could you not regret it? Yamada Ryo turned his head and looked calmly outside the rooftop. On the outer edge of the rooftop are tall buildings. Behind the high-rise buildings are mountains. There is a cold wind blowing from the other side of the mountain. The words of Ryo Yamada, who were alone on the rooftop, were taken away. I haven't seen you get down on one knee and propose to me. I haven't seen you making money to support the family for me and my children. You haven't seen me grow old yet, and you still love me very much. How could you not regret it? How can you not regret it? Yamada Ryo on the rooftop leaned against the railing and pulled up the scarf around his neck. It's so warm. Close your eyes. There was no change in her voice. Chapter 39. This is so rock and roll. I've asked Ely to go back first. There can't be no one in the practice room. Yeah. Thank you. Kita-chan. Ichiki Hunka nodded gently to Kita Ikuyo, who followed him, and then looked at the Tokyo street scene in front of him. Traffic is busy and neon lights are flashing. Her mood seemed to be much more stable, and she lowered her eyes a little guiltily. I'm sorry, Kita-chan, I clearly know that you also. Ikuyo Kita. Kita Ikuyo didn't answer and shook his head, but the strength of holding Ijishi Hongzia's hand became stronger. No need to apologize, Ichiki-senpai. Yes. Why do you need to apologize when you already know the outcome? Even if she mustered up the courage this time, the answer would probably be the same, right? The two men were leaning side by side. They were silent for a long time. Tokyo street scene in winter. It's better if you don't have any expectations. Yes. It's better if you don't have any expectations. A somewhat distant, murmuring but relieved voice came out. So that's it? In reality, Nang Xiang shrank back into bed as he felt Nan Xiang rushing through his mind. Originally, he thought that this simulation would most likely focus on career and supplemented by love. But I didn't expect it to unfold in such a way. The success of the career line in the early stage triggered the confession of Ijishi Hongzia in the later stage. And if you look at the bits and pieces of the previous business lines, it is not difficult to find out. All the girls who ended the band actually had a crush on her. Nan Xiang remembered that Hongxia, Ichiki in the simulation, had told him about her dreams many times. She hopes that the end of the band will make her famous, and she will use this opportunity to make her sister Iji Hoshika Star's performance hall shine like the stars of the band, a place where Mother in Heaven can also see the stars' bright colors. And it was with the help of Nang Xiangxi that this dream came true. Therefore, she has admiration and gratitude for Nang Xiang. And love sprouting from this admiration is not unnatural in itself. The same is naturally true for Kita Ikuyo and Yamada Ryo. Although two-dimensional heroines are difficult to handle, but their hearts are very delicate. Show kindness to them and they will return kindness. So, it has evolved into this. What will become of the band that ended up united in the end? Nang Xiangxi couldn't help but think. But soon, he shook his head again. Probably nothing will change. What kind of band fell apart, or stories like The Good Ship and The Good Knife? Probably won't happen. Ichiki Nijitsu has a caring nature, Kita Ikuyo is always enthusiastic towards people, Yamada Ryo is cold and elegant, and Goto Kazuri is timid on the surface, but in fact he is strong inside. They will not do stupid things affected by extreme emotions. This incident may have some impact, but they will surely be able to sort out their mood soon and continue their band life. No matter it is Ijishi Hunka, Kita Ikuyo, or Yamada Ryo, they will not stop here. They are strong, they always have been. Nang Xiang refocused his energy on simulation. Ichiri Goto blames himself very much for causing the current situation. You comfort her and tell her not to worry. Because if you deal with them carelessly, it will only make them more painful later. And you also have confidence in them. They are very strong and have always been so. The result was, as you can imagine, Ijishi Hongzia quickly adjusted her mood and returned to the closing band. But I don't know if it's your imagination, but you seem to have noticed that from time to time, she will look at you with a more eager and gentle look than before. Even if you find out, she still dares to look back at you openly. She has never given up, and maybe she doesn't plan to give up either. In an interview with a well-known music program, when the host asked the band members if they had anyone they liked, they all responded in the affirmative. So, the next question is a fan question. We all know that the people who ended the band are young girls who are no more than 10 or 20 years old. I wonder if you have anyone you like. As the host spoke, he extended the microphone to the members of the ending band who were accompanying Nang Xiangxi. What surprised the host was that it wasn't just the band's founder, Ijishi Hongxia, who had a crush. Even Ikuyo Kida, Ryo Yamada, and even Kazuri Goto, who often shrank in front of the camera, expressed that they have people they like. This is really surprising. The host did not take back the microphone. It turns out that the four of you already have people you like. Is it convenient to reveal their names? Well, Itaka Najika, Yamada Ryo, Kida Ikuyo, and Goto Izato looked at each other. Their eyes secretly turned to Nang Xiang, who was chatting with the members of the program team next to him in the audience. The person I like. There must be some. When they talked about this topic, smiles appeared on their faces unconsciously. The popular rock band ended up causing a stir as soon as it was revealed that all the members of the band had their own favorites. However, since the band has always been in the style of an independent rock band and is not an idol band, even if this news comes out, it will not have a big impact on their extremely high popularity. On the contrary, there is a group of viewers with special interests who think this is so rock and roll and become more interested in ending the band. End of the band's fame has been on the rise. The outside world can't help but start to speculate about who the four members of the band have a soft spot for. But you have hardly appeared in front of the public except when necessary. You always stand in the shadows. This also leads to the fact that even if the outside world has some speculation about your identity, in the end it just stays at speculation aspect. You are still responsible for running the daily affairs of the band. What was originally a small band operation has been turned into a small studio in your hands. You are responsible for managing the studio. During this period, many people also came to look for Yuji Hongxia, hoping to kick you away and take your place. However, Yuji Hongxia always refused sternly. She has always been good-tempered and never gave it to the other party good look. You are their most trustworthy candidate, and this has always been the case until now. In March of the following year, due to your unremitting efforts to run and close the band and the popularity of the band continued to rise, you got the opportunity to perform at the Budokan. This is the closest you will get to your dream. Chapter 40. I don't want to die in failure and loneliness. Playing at the Budokan? Nang Xiangxi, who had never paid much attention to this, opened his mobile phone and entered the keyword Budokan. Under the omnipotent network, Nang Xiangxi almost understood what the so-called martial arts hall represented. Nippon Budokan is actually a sports venue located in Chiyoda district. The reason why it is given value is that countless excellent bands have played here. For Japan's music and entertainment circles, Nippon Budokan is like a holy place, similar to the Tokyo Dome, and seems to have a special meaning. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 27. It turns out this is this place. Turn off your cell phone when in Nangxiang. The Japanese will always give the name of a holy place to places that can be seen everywhere, and then add superfluous meanings to them on their own initiative. But it's no wonder that the simulator will say this is the closest you've ever been to your dream. To be on this stage must be something that Ichiki Hunka and the others have always dreamed of, right? It is the place where dreams come true. Thinking of this, Nan Xiangxi turned to look at me. This is the closest you will get to your dream. You have noticed that Kazuri Goto is very focused on arranging lyrics, Ryo Yamada is arranging music without slacking off, Hikaru Itaki is constantly working on new songs, and Ikuyo Kida is seriously improving his guitar skills. This makes you a little strange. The repertoire played by the band in the past 2 years has been enough to support them in completing a perfect performance in the Budokan. Why are they still writing lyrics and music in a hurry now? But you respected their decision in the end. Getting to this point is the result of the joint efforts of you and them. No matter who is missing, we can't reach this peak. You have already symbiotically coexisted with the ending band. The time was spent in the not-so-long arrangement of the venue, and soon it came to the end of the day when the band officially took the stage at the Budokan. The venue was decorated in pink, red, blue, and yellow, and fans wearing clothes related to the band formed long queues at the various entrances of the venue. As the opening approaches, you finally finish all the work at hand. You put down all the materials and relieve yourself of all the fatigue. Sitting in the first row prepared for you by the martial arts gym, you want to watch them realize their dreams from the nearest distance. The waiting process is undoubtedly very difficult. You stand up and sit down, and look at the time from time to time, and even take the time to call a Jishi Hungzia. After confirming that there will be no car accident, sudden diagnosis of illness, death from overwork, etc., you sit down and continue to wait. The person in charge of the martial arts gym next to him joked that you really care about ending the band members. You just smile and brush it off casually, because you know how long they have been preparing for today. It's just that you still haven't figured it out yet. Why is Goto Kazuri writing a new song before his upcoming Budokan appearance? But this doubt disappeared after the band's performance officially started. They are fascinating on stage, whether it is the steady rhythm of the drums, the thick wall of sound formed by the bass, or the exquisite coordination of the lead guitar and the consonant guitar. The atmosphere at the scene was extremely enthusiastic. The shouts at the end of the band shook the entire Tokyo. The last trace of uneasiness finally dissipated at this moment. It turns out that before you know it, they have grown into a national rock band that can play independently without you. You completely relax and start to enjoy their performance like an ordinary audience member. It's been a long time since you listened purely to their performance like this. In the long-term relationship, you can hear their changes in emotions from the sound of music. But what makes you confused is that Goto Ichiri's new songs have not been played for a long time, and everyone is still playing the songs that were played before the band ended. Coming to the end soon. But at the end of this, Ijishi Hunka, who was sweating profusely, suddenly stood up. She told everyone that the next song will be sung by Ichiri Goto. This is a song of great special significance and she wants to give it to a special person. In the simulator, memory floats. The martial arts venue, which can accommodate 15,000 people, was packed with seats. Ichiki Hunka, who was holding a microphone in his hand, stood up and announced to everyone that the next song would be sung by lead guitarist Kazuri Goto, who had never performed in public. Nan Xiang felt worried. In his impression, Goto Ichiri was still the timid little girl who cowered and hid behind him. Can she really sing loudly on a stage with 15,000 people? He raised his head subconsciously. But he found that she was also looking at him on the stage. Found it when I was in Nangxiang. Her eyes sparkled. Like fireflies in the summer. Although weak. But it does attract some people. The title of the song is I Don't Want to Die Lonely. Her voice on the stage was still weak. But the next moment. Buzz. Guitars roar. You never noticed. The girl who has been hiding behind you, timid and never dared to speak, has been able to step out from behind you without even realizing it. At this time. She is watching you. Scream on stage. She is watching you. The guitar is screaming. She is watching you. She's screaming on her guitar. Off the court, you can no longer tell whether the guitar is shouting or she is shouting. Who can I be? What kind of person do I want to be? I don't want to die in loneliness and failure. I feel inferior to myself and feel sorry for myself. The me who has always been clumsy and at a loss. I don't want to die in loneliness and failure. The guitar has a tearing hollow sound. It squeezes people's hearts. On the stage, She only looked at Nang Xiangxi. She didn't feel nervous. Because her stage has only one audience. The harsh sound waves trapped Nang Xiang's feet that wanted to move. Drum roll. The bass bounces. The song explodes. Then comes the intense guitar solo. She puts her lips close to the microphone. You have survived spring, summer, autumn, and winter for me. For me who has always been clumsy and at a loss. For me who is so timid and about to die. I don't want to die in loneliness and failure. I don't want to die in loneliness and failure. I want to die with you. The song ends. There was silence. The whole place was so quiet that the only sound was her thin breathing, leaning against the microphone. Next moment. Thunderous applause. Chapter 41. What is loneliness? The rapid guitar solo is like a sudden rain in a clear summer sky, hitting everyone's heart. Ichiri Goto's weak singing voice is completely inferior to that of Ikuyo Kida, who has appeared on stage many times as the lead vocalist. But in the audience, no one could ignore the heart-rending emotion in his voice. And from this song, Nang Xiang, who knew them best, heard the monologues and accusations of Goto Kazuri's struggles and regrets in his heart. I don't want to stop being depressed because of my timidity. I've had enough of being alone. Can you hear me? I don't want to live under a gloomy sky anymore. I also want to take the initiative to talk to others. I don't want to pretend to enjoy loneliness anymore. Can you hear me? Through her voice that was so thin that it had nothing to add. Can you see it? It seems that I really saw it when I was in Nangxiang. She saw other students chatting during class, but she could only sit on the desk in a daze. She was sitting alone on the swing in the park. She was huddled in the closet alone at night, sliding her finger across the screen of her phone. When the band finished playing, Muran looked back and looked at her back as they left. She only dared to stretch out her hand and gently wave goodbye when their backs were turned. All her life she has been trying to get out of the shadow of social fear. Isn't social fear fun? Isn't it fun to watch me make a fool of myself because of social fear? She was roaring unwillingly. I saw it when I was in Nangxiang. Sweat dripped from the edges of her fair cheeks while playing. Scattered on the stage. Like crystal stars. Really beautiful. When the entire song falls. There was silence. A monologue that only belongs to her. A song that only belongs to her. It's all emotion, no technique. But that's exactly what makes it so exciting. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 28. Applause came first from one person, then from two. Then, as if being infected, the entire venue was filled with thunderous applause. You are already in tears as you watch her. You have been paying attention to her, but you have never thought that she has always been troubled by the shadow of social anxiety, struggled with it, and complained about it. You once asked her what loneliness is. She thought about it for a long time and answered you like this. I took a shower and changed into new clothes, but I didn't know where to go or who to talk to. Maybe this is loneliness. You raised your head in the audience and couldn't help but imagine what would have happened if she hadn't joined the closing band. She did not join the band after graduating from high school. She hurriedly found a job under the introduction of her parents. She became increasingly depressed in the social whipping, so she cut her hair short and put on clothes that could go out. The Guitar Hero account has been suspended for a long time. The guitar placed in the corner was piled with dust. She lived the same life every day as yesterday, not daring to look directly at others and shrinking back. And the band's performance is over. It came to an abrupt end when the atmosphere was heated to its peak by Ichiri Goto. But no one present felt sorry. The next day, the song I Don't Want to Die Lonely was named one of the 10 most worth listening rock tracks of the century by the famous Japanese music magazine Rock in Japan. Major record companies sent various forms of contracts with generous conditions. But you have no time to take care of such things. The day after the performance, Ichiri Goto confessed his love to you. Facing you, her voice is still so thin. You didn't know until this moment that I Don't Want to Die in Loneliness was a work created by all members of the band after racking their brains. This is her monologue to you. But this makes you even more surprised. You are not a stupid person, nor are you a light novel protagonist with low emotional intelligence. You naturally know that not only Goto Kazuri, but also maybe Yamada Ryo, Iji Chihonka, and Kita Ikuyo have fallen in love with you, maybe they still do now. Regarding your surprise, Yamada Ryo is still cold and elegant, while Ataka Hikaru and Kita Ikuyo show playful and cute smiles. They know that the person you like is her. How can they have the heart to force you to stay with them? It's time to let you go, thank you so much for always. They seem to be relieved, telling you so. You looked at them, said nothing more, turned around and agreed to go to Isato's confession. That day, Ryo Yamada was lying on the bed without falling asleep for a long time. Your photo on her phone lit up her eyes. That day, Yiji Hongzia buried her head in Yiji Zinga's arms and cried for a long time. That day, Kita Ikuyo chatted with his friends very late. You and Ichiri Goto are officially dating. In terms of personality, she has improved. She can look directly into other people's eyes, and her speech is no longer as stammering as before. Your family is extremely surprised that your girlfriend is Ichiri Goto. She is well behaved and sensible and quickly gained the approval of your parents and sister. After the end of the band's activities, they are still going on. After entering the Budokan, they have become a national rock band and have countless fans. At a press conference, Goto Kazuri announced his relationship with you and the fact that the two of you were engaged. Under the spotlight, she holds your hand with the engagement ring and smiles happily for the first time. Taking advantage of this craze, reporters also did not forget to ask Yamada Ryo and other band members who ended their favorites. In this regard, they just looked at each other, then smiled faintly, shook their heads, without saying much. Their reluctance to disclose attracted the attention of many reporters, and paparazzi began to secretly investigate the band's demise. But their investigation has been at a deadlock from the beginning. You are the only male who has ended contact with the band on weekdays. There are few records of chatting with other men, and it is difficult to dig out even tidbits. So, after a month of intense investigation, the paparazzi reluctantly gave up the investigation into the band's demise. Ending the person the band members liked gradually became an urban legend discussed by others. During this period, taking advantage of the craze of I Don't Want to Die Lonely, the band's number of fans exploded. You have become a national-level band. Countless people have expressed their love for you. Tickets for your concerts are hard to come by, and your records have been sold out as soon as they were released. It was also when the career had reached its peak that something significant happened within the band. You are married to Ichiri Goto. Chapter 42. The dream of happiness will continue. Finally, we are on the road to getting married again. In reality, Nang Xiangxi finally breathed a sigh of relief. Whether it's Goto Kazuri's singing monologue alone, or her confession to herself, he basically saw it all. And after going through so many ups and downs, we finally reached the point of getting married. What will be different this time? He sank his consciousness into the deepest depths of the simulation. It was not much different from the previous two wedding banquets. In Nangxiang, the only people invited to weddings were friends with whom we could chat. At the wedding banquet, with her fair face and light makeup, she would feel embarrassed, but this time it was different from the previous two times. She didn't have stage fright. She has been working hard to overcome and encourage herself. This time, not only Nang Xiangxi entertained the guests, but Nang Xiangili also came forward to help take care of them. The guests were amazed by his wife's beauty and thoughtfulness. At night, the band members will drink with you and Nang Xiangili. At this time, Nang Xiangili, who had always been taciturn, suddenly proposed to play the confession game while still drunk. The object of my confession is you, and the person I confess to is the other members of the band. You didn't want to agree to this request, but you couldn't resist your wife's begging, so you finally nodded and agreed. In the confession game, the members of the ending band will confess their feelings to you one by one. When they talk about liking you, their faces can't hide the loss and regret. You did not escape, and listened carefully to their soft words and affectionate whispers. Do they regret ending the band? Perhaps there will still be some regrets. On this day, they were very drunk after the band ended, but when you went to see them the next day, you found that they had already left. They have never wanted to cause you any trouble before, and now. Days passed day by day after you married Nangxiang Ili. She still carried out music activities with the people who had ended the band. They had realized their original dreams. Finally, one day in the future, Nangxiang Ili became pregnant, and you had to start thinking about what would happen after having a child. Nangxiang Ili came up with the idea of retirement for her now. She is happy enough. The band life is too intense for her now and has brought her too much fatigue. This proposal was also agreed by Ajishi Hungzia. The long years of band activities have made the other members of the band feel more or less tired. Today's The End is without a doubt the best rock band in the country. Their dreams have reached the harbor, and they decide to stop here. In November of the same year, after their last performance at the Tokyo Dome, they announced the end of the band's retirement to all the audience with tears in their eyes. This made many fans present find it difficult to accept this retreat. The exit from the show was recorded in the Tokyo Dome records. In the same month, the band's peripheral products were sold out across the country, and many fans launched a parade to commemorate the band. In January of the following year, Nangxiang Ili gave birth to a girl, and you named her Nangxiang Nazu. Nango Notake is very healthy and has inherited your black hair, but she looks more like Nango Ichiri. She is very cute, but a little afraid of strangers. After she was born, the three aunts who finished the band often came over look at her. They are still single and love Nango Notake as their own daughter. Yamada Ryo often taught her how to play the bass, Itaka Hikaru was there to correct the rhythm, and Kita Ikuyo often taught her how to sing. Their careful teaching allowed Nango Notake's musical talent to emerge at a young age. Notake, come and learn bass with me. Ryo Yamada, who is over 29 years old, still has a mature and delicate face, and her eyes reveal an indescribable laziness and elegance. She is looking chic as she hugs Bess and pats the sofa next to her. Nango Notake is wearing a little red skirt and little leather shoes. She has short hair and red lips and white teeth. She is extremely cute. Hearing Yamada Ryo's words at this time, she hesitated for a while before speaking, but, Ryo's mother, Hungzia's mother, said that Notake should not be a bass player when she grows up, saying that bass players like to lie to children. Don't Notake believe me? Yamada Ryo looked at Nango Notake seriously and said in a sincere tone, am I that kind of person? I don't believe it. Mother Liang used to cheat me out of my lucky money to buy new music equipment. Nango Notake put her finger on Sakura's lips and spoke seriously. Ryo Yamada. The bigger it gets, the less cute it becomes. Yamada Ryo held up his delicate and elegant profile and watched Nango Notake running to Ajishi Hikaru with her calves, and could only put down the bass. This is called self-inflicted suffering. Is it true that someone would even defraud their children of their New Year's money? Ichiki Hunka didn't even bother to look at his bass player and walked over with Nango Notake. She no longer wears a side ponytail. After inheriting the Manxing from Itaki Hoshige, he instead tied a mature single ponytail behind his head. At this time, with her fair neck exposed and wearing home clothes, she has a charm that far exceeds that of her high school days. I really envy Hungzia-chan, she is still so popular with children. Kita Ikuyo sat next to him and said with a smile. Her beautiful red hair has grown long, and her well-cared-for skin shows no wrinkles. She still looks so energetic. As she spoke, she looked behind Hungzia Yujishi. After she didn't see the person she wanted to see, she couldn't help but ask. Where are Irasi-chan and him? Did Ichiri-chan go to the bathroom? I guess he will come back later. He said he had some unfinished business at work. Still as serious as ever. She. A few people sat down and started chatting, while looking out the window. Through the cross-window frame, you can see the huge Tokyo Dome. That was the place where they once pursued their dreams. At that time, Najika Itaka, Ryo Yamada, and Ikuyo Kida had always dreamed of playing in the Tokyo Dome. That's their dream. Now, the dreams have come true. The atmosphere in the store is lively, with mature women teasing the cute Nango Notake from time to time. Everything is peaceful. After a while, a welcome bell rang. Here, Ili. And Ashi. Come and sit down, we have to start first. Next time it's so slow, you'll pay the bill. Half-joking words rang out, teasing the two people who had just entered the room. The cheerful conversation resounded in the heated store, which was filled with festive and happy music. Everything seemed so beautiful. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udaziiwe. Chapter 29. You are very happy, and you have reason to believe that this dream of happiness will continue. Chapter 43. Can't love Yamada Ryo if root card. Happiness wraps you and her, and the time between you and her continues to pass in happiness. Nango Notake grew up quickly and inherited your excellent learning ability and the musical talents of the band members. She was admitted to Tokyo University of the Arts with almost no effort. After finishing the band, she and you as husband and wife are all happy and gratified for her achievement. After graduation, Nango Notake, who was introduced by the band members, began to specialize in piano. She wanted to take a completely different path from you. Nango Notake, who inherited your musical talent, shocked the entire Japanese music industry as soon as her piano repertoire was released. She has become the most popular young pianist nowadays. You see everything in your eyes and are happy for her. Gradually, she no longer needs to follow your shadow, but instead walks to the front of the stage to support you moving forward. You and Nangxiang Ili have become old and gradually need help from others. Hikaru Itaka, Ryo Yamada, and Ikuyo Kida are your neighbors. Your houses are connected together so that Nango Notake can better take care of you and the members of the band. In the past, you held her little hand and walked forward, but now she pulls you toward the future. The years are silent and no one can escape the changes of the years. Your physical fitness is very good, and you don't have any major diseases. It's just that you are getting older, and your health will naturally be gradually taken away by the passing years. When you were about to pass away, it was Nangxiang Ili who held your hand, held it close to your ear, and sang softly the song that only you knew to end the band before time took you away. You were still surrounded by the members of the band that ended. They make death no longer scary. After your death, Nangxiang Ili, the members of the band and your daughter were very sad, but they still supported each other and lived strong. After you pass away, they commemorate you in various ways in their spare time. They will look at the thick work materials you left behind. They will always look at each other, then smile knowingly, and talk about your story. In my memory, you are always serious, as if nothing can trouble you. You are still a young man in my memory. Simulation ends. Break out of the simulation. Nangxiang Shi let out a long breath. I don't know why, but this ending was brilliant enough, but it made him feel a little melancholy. This feeling is very strange, but it can still be described in words. You have finished reading a good book. Finished enjoying a good piece of music. I finished chasing the drama I always wanted to catch up on. After it's all over, there's a moment of satisfaction followed by a long-lasting sense of deep emptiness. This feeling of melancholy, which is close to melancholy, is hard to get rid of. But birth, old age, illness, and death are also human nature. At least this time he didn't die from an accident such as death from overwork, a car accident, or falling ill. He had no regrets until his final death. Nan Xiangxi shook his head and turned to look at the subsequent settlement of the simulator. System score, 92 points. Systematic review. The love of your life is like a sudden rain. The process of you getting to know each other was very long. In order to realize each other's dreams, you focused on your work in your youth and somewhat ignored her feelings, but this also gave her the opportunity to face setbacks and difficulties alone. During this process, she was gradually attracted to you, and your eyes were also attracted to her, who always wanted to change herself. Your relationship was natural for you. She overcame the mental social phobia that had been bothering her. You and her support each other and finally reach the depths of your dreams. This time, you have children and partners who can cherish each other. Your old age is very happy. Even if she loses you, she can support and move forward with others. When you look back at the end of your life, there may be happiness everywhere behind you. Is the evaluation this time so high? Looking at the high score evaluation of 92 points, Nang Xiang felt a little surprised, but after thinking about it a little deeper, he probably understood the reason why he could get such a high score this time. This time, he left without any regret. Goto Kazuri, whose character has improved, can continue to live strongly even if he loses him. This is completely opposite to the result that after losing him in the last week, Goto Kazuri was unable to get over the sadness and was depressed, and the result followed him only a year later. Similarly, after having Nango no Take also became one of Goto's spiritual pillars. She may feel lonely occasionally, but never as lonely as before. Therefore, based on the above points, it is very normal to have high scores this time. It's just a pity that this time I couldn't experience up close what it was like to create a human with Ichiri Goto. Snap. Nang Xiangxi, you have married Goto Ichiri 3 times in the simulation after all. As a young man of the new era, can you have some potential? Don't always care about this kind of thing, which is not worth it at all. What do you care about? Nang Xiangxi patted his face, which had a charm value of 9, and issued a stern warning to himself. Boys who are addicted to desire are the most useless. Putting aside all the distracting thoughts in his mind, Nang Xiangxi continued to look at the specific subsequent settlement content of the simulator. You have completed a 90-point happy ending, and you will be awarded an additional 1000 points of excitement and open the basic prop store. System settlement. You have obtained the love of 3 generations, but you cannot love it. Yamada Ryo if root card, you have obtained Nang Xiang Ichiri's happy cooking skills. You gain the specialty of cooking, happiness, LV4. Huh? The third love? Yamada Ryo character root card. The first thing that attracted me to Nango was the introduction to the character card of Ryo Yamada in the previous section. But what makes him wonder is, why did Miss Yamada have basic props when she was a running companion for 3 weeks? He couldn't help but take a look at the system introduction. Loved by 3 generations, but not loved, Yamada Ryo if root card. 4s whom loved her all her life, and 3s whom could not love her, but she never felt unfair because of this. She lamented that for her, just being by your side and watching you is the best ending, even if this ending leads to nothing but regret. I can't tell why I love you, but I know that you are the reason why I don't love others. When she, who is cold and elegant, looks back, are you willing to stop for her this time? Chapter 44. Like a maggot, twisting. It's not easy for Ms. Yamada. Nang Xiang couldn't help but sigh when he saw Yamada Ryo's root card showing the strategy option for the first time. The love you love every time in your life, you can't love again and again. Except for showing off my face during the 0-point simulation in the first game, the rest of the simulations were full of regrets. Could it be that because Ms. Yamada has been running with me every time, she finally reached the point where she can no longer even watch the simulator? Nang Xiangxi shook his head. There is no use in thinking so much. He moved his eyes away from Yamada Ryo's if root card. A simulation has just ended, and the memories contained in it are still quite heavy on people's mental burden. Let's wait until the simulation memory of the previous week is almost digested, and then think about Miss Yamada's simulation. He looked at the rewards after the settlement of the system that concerned him later. Happy cooking skills in Nangxiang Ili. Nan Xiang murmured to himself. The Nango Ichisato here probably refers to Goto Ichisato, who changed his surname to Nango after marrying him. Just happy cooking skills? Nangxiangshi reached out thoughtfully and opened his personal panel. Love Simulator. Bind user, Nangxiangshi. Appearance, 9, Sports, 6, Academic ability, 8, Specialties, Cooking, Happiness, LV4, Learning LV4, Music LV2, Self-Discipline LV1. Simulator evaluation. A handsome young man with a promising future is a rare and sought-after commodity among women of all ages, including some men with extraordinary sexual interests. LV4's specialties have been increased. Originally, in Nangxiang, only learning was LV4's specialty, but now there is suddenly an additional cooking skill LV4. But why is there a note about happiness after cooking? Close the personal panel and focus on Nangxiangshi's entry Happy Cooking Skills in Nangxiang Ili. Below is an explanation of the system. Happy cooking techniques in Nangxiang Ili. An ordinary rice, a bowl of monotonous miso soup, a thick omelette that is not too difficult to make, and a fried fish with just the right heat. These are the tastes that belong exclusively to her family. Learning for someone, practicing for someone, cooking with someone in mind is extremely happy, and loving someone's heart can make the taste of the food happy. You may have long forgotten the most delicious and happy meal you had at a carefree age. The meals you cook will remind people of the happiest time in their lives. Good guy. Nangxiangshi took out the Regret of Life guitar that was in the piano bag next to him, and took another look at the entry explanation of Nangxiang Ili's happy cooking craftsmanship. Is it so evil to be happy and depressed at the same time? Nangxiang always felt that this love simulator would lead him to a certain path from which he could not turn back. Just give it a try. When Nangxiang stood up, he took a look into the small refrigerator he bought. For a long time, in order to ensure his learning efficiency, he basically ate ready-made lunch boxes bought at convenience stores, which he could heat up in the convenience store's microwave and eat directly. But after seeing what was said in the simulator, eating convenience store food for a long time will lead to unhealthy health. He finally consciously spent money to buy some vegetables and stored meat in his small refrigerator. Although his current financial situation is indeed very tight, after all, his body is his own, and he cannot ruin it just because of studying. Nangxiangshi glanced at the refrigerator and found that there were plenty of ingredients in the refrigerator. At least there's no problem getting up early tomorrow and making a lunch to take to school. Hey, once I master guitar skills and make my first money from online videos, I won't have to be so tight. After closing the refrigerator door, Nangxiangshi thought of the way to make money that he had been thinking about before. In the simulation, I also used the online video of the end of the band to earn clicks, thereby getting the first pot of gold. On the other hand, in real life, he should be able to do the same. But before that, I still need to find someone to taste what I made this time. The last time the Life Regret guitar made me depressed for several days, Nangxiangshi still remembers it vividly. Although this time it is a happy meal, there is no guarantee that something evil will appear. After all, the existence of this love simulator is very evil. So who should be chosen as the first unlucky guy? Nangxiang didn't have many friends in school. He had always adhered to the doctrine of self-discipline in learning and rarely took the initiative to contact others. He thought for a while and quickly finalized the candidate. He opened his phone casually, then opened Line. He raised his hand and found a guitar avatar with the nickname of a woman with the ID probably dead. The most beautiful boy in Tokyo, Goto-san, are you there? My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 30. I put down my phone and waited for almost a minute before a reply came from my phone. Probably dead. Go to Kazuri, huh? Senior Nangxiang, is there something wrong? Tokyo's most beautiful boy, that's right. I've recently started cooking at home. After all, it's not healthy to eat food from convenience stores all the time. Since it's my first time cooking, I may not have mastered the degree well and I've cooked a little too much. Tomorrow are you free at noon? I would like to ask you to help me taste it. System prompt, you have obtained the specialty Li LV1. Nangxiang she glanced sideways at the system prompt that suddenly popped up, but didn't pay much attention to it. Probably dead, huh? Try it. Go to Ichiri on the other side of the phone looked very hesitant. The most beautiful boy in Tokyo, please, go to San. Probably dead, yes, is it tomorrow at noon? The most beautiful boy in Tokyo, that's about it? Do you need me to call you in your class? Probably dead, never. That, right in the atrium. Probably because he was afraid that a top predator like Nangxiang would cause trouble when he came to his class, Go to Ichiri reacted very fiercely this time, but his tone was still soft and weak, like a frightened hamster. But in Nangxiang, it didn't matter at all. They are now an old married couple, and Nangxiang she is born with an inexplicable psychological advantage in front of her. The most beautiful boy in Tokyo, that's it? Talking to himself, he closed line. Nango Toki didn't even look at Goto Ichiri's last reply, and instead went to study what to do tomorrow. And on the other side not too far away, the pink-haired girl carefully wrote the last reply and sent the message. After receiving no reply for a long time, she played with the hair around her ears uneasily. Senior Nangxiang hasn't replied yet. The white and pink toes crossed restlessly. Yes, are you disliked? She couldn't help but think wildly. There's nothing you can do about being hated, right? Ichisato Goto thought. Because starting from tonight, she felt something was inexplicably wrong. There are always some inexplicable impressions, or memories, flowing into my mind. How could someone like me marry Nangxiang Sr.? Although it is a fantasy, it is too much. When he thought of certain contents in his memory, Goto Ichiri, who covered his flushed face with a pillow, leaned on the sofa. The body is twisted. Twist. Chapter 45. Shall we eat with everyone? At 6 o'clock in the morning the next day, Nangxiang she started running to exercise. There are 2 projects in the simulator where he died before Kazuri Goto. Although these 2 deaths were natural deaths, from a certain perspective, it actually shows that his current physique is flawed. So he simply decided to get up early to exercise. Starting from home, I would like to run for a few kilometers. After a full circle, I glanced at the simulator page when I returned to the rental house in Nangxiang. Your physique has increased slightly, and your current exercise value is 6. Very good. Nanxiangshi nodded with satisfaction as he leaned against the small refrigerator and took a sip of water. Although he is already good enough, no one will refuse to make himself better. This is just the first day of training, he will become more and more perfect in the future. Come on. Your looks are 9. I will become the big brother of a perfect man from now on. Nangxiang, who warned himself in the mirror and was determined to continuously improve himself, was satisfied and started preparing today's lunch. He took out the ingredients from the refrigerator and laid out the chicken breasts flatly with ease. First, use a diagonal knife to slice the chicken breast into pieces of about 4 to 5 millimeters. At the same time, marinate the chicken breast with salt, garlic, and black pepper in precise proportions, seal it with plastic wrap, and set it aside. Then, while you're waiting for the chicken breast to marinate, prepare some side dishes. Stew, potato stew seems pretty good. Nangxiangshi murmured to himself and quickly took out the potatoes. His peeling hob moved very quickly. Perhaps this is the ability of LV4's cooking skills. Just by glancing sideways, he can instantly bring out all the processing methods and methods of countless existing ingredients, and he can even sense the quality of the ingredients. It has to be said that LV4's cooking skills are definitely at a professional level. It is estimated that even in the professional level, he is considered to be top-notch. Even Nang Xiangxi, who barely cooks, can easily handle ingredients that he has never handled before. This also made him curious about Ichiri Goto's real cooking skills in the simulation. It seems that the other party has more than just Guitar Hero talents. She also seems to have her own unique talent in cooking. Set up a hot oil pan and throw the marinated chicken pieces covered in batter into it. The tempting fat coats the chicken pieces and swells up and down. First fry slowly in medium oil, then raise the oil temperature and fry again for 10 seconds after frying until almost done. This will make the outer skin crispier. Wait until the bento is completely ready. You made a perfect home lunch with 4.3 points. The system prompts. Nang Xiangxi couldn't help but take a look. The chicken pieces are cooked just right, and the alluring aroma oozes out from the gaps between the meat. The light sauce-colored potato pieces are piled up like square building blocks. Under the light, the sauce yellow edges are slightly transparent, exuding an alluring heat. Judging from the appearance, the bento in front of you looks like a very ordinary family bento. But, I really want to eat it. I want to eat it for no reason. Why do you want to eat it so much? Call. Relying on his good habit of self-discipline over a long period of time, Nang Xiangxi finally suppressed the strong desire in his heart to have a taste. He exhaled and closed the lid of the lunch box. This time, I mainly wanted to see the specific effects of Nango Ichiri's happy cooking techniques, and this was also a bento I wanted to try out for Goto Ichiri. Why are you so anxious? Anyway, since the hands are on my body, can't I just do it after I want to eat myself? After carrying the lunch box, Nang Xiangxi looked at the time. It's almost time. Going out and going to school, it doesn't take long to take the train from my home in Nangxiang to Oka High School. Along the way, I nodded and greeted the Oka High School students who took the initiative to say hello. Nangxiang sat down at his place and waited until noon. I don't know what the perfect home lunch box with a system score of 4.3, on a 5-point scale, tastes like. There wasn't much to say about the morning session. For Nang Xiangxi, who has a LV4 learning specialty, an academic score of 8, and has already mastered the entire Oka High School knowledge. He just listened briefly for a while, and then he memorized the key points that needed to be remembered, and then continued to wait for noon in his seat. But maybe it just happened to be true to the saying that God does not fulfill people's wishes. Just before the last class ends at noon. When he was ready to go to Nangxiang in the atrium, he was stopped by the math teacher teaching the class. Nangxiang-san, please go to the principal's office after class. Principal Gangno seems to have something to talk to you about. Principal Gangno is looking for him. Stopped in Nangxiang. It should be about exempting tuition fees. Nangxiang-san is really amazing. When he saw Nangxiang, he was a little confused. The female math teacher gave him an extra explanation with a friendly smile on her face. Older single female teachers like her are most attracted to young male students like Nangxiang who are good-looking and have top-notch academic performance. So that's what happened. Teacher, please explain. After hearing what the other party said, Nangxiang thought that Oka High School would indeed exempt those with good grades from tuition. It's just that the simulator suddenly popped up recently, making him almost forget about it. This is a good thing. You should know that the tuition fees of Oka Private High School have always been very high. Reducing the tuition fees will also reduce the financial pressure on the Nangxiang family. Although I really want to see the effect of Nangxiang Ili's happy cuisine on the spot. But tuition exemption is also very important. After Nangxiangxi thought for a while, he made a decision. He took out his phone. The most beautiful boy in Tokyo, sorry, Godu-kun, I have something urgent and I may not be able to go to the atrium for the time being. I'm sorry. Hands clasped together to apologize. Probably dead, never mind. The most beautiful boy in Tokyo, so I left the lunchbox on the bench in the atrium. If you don't mind, Godu-san can take it away and tell me what you think after tasting it. Presumably dead, okay. You have worked hard. Why did I work so hard? No matter how you look at it, it's just me causing trouble for you, right? He looked at Godu Kazuri, who was a bit groveling even when chatting. Nangxiang couldn't help but shook his head and closed line. I hope that after more exchanges in the future, this little girl can gradually change. Putting the bento on the bench in the atrium, Nangxiang breathed a sigh of relief and walked towards the principal's office. But what he didn't know was that after he turned around, a pink-haired figure huddled on a pillar behind the school building timidly poked his head out. Ugh, I thought about so many embarrassing things yesterday, and I'm really embarrassed to meet him face to face today. Sorry. Godu Ichiri, who was hiding behind the pillar, bowed several times in succession towards Nango, who had gone away. Then, she walked forward with some curiosity and picked up the lunchbox that Nangxiang had placed on the bench. Is this the bento made by Nangxiang senpai?